So we are live. It is 3 minutes past 7 in the UK, and this is a free masterclass on how to price your cakes for success. This is a very, very hot topic, and I've wanted to do a free masterclass for ages on this topic, but I've always been a bit too nervous. But today I'm going to give you my strategy, pricing, which has literally made my business explode and given me an income and given me a healthy turnover and just made me feel fantastic about running a cake business. I know money isn't everything, but it does help. It does help. So let's get into it. Okay, so an overview of what we're going to talk about. 3 reasons cake makers fail at pricing. Then we're going to look at how you can win the pricing game. Then we are going to look at tools and tips to help you, which you can implement straight away. And then if you have any questions, I'll be answering those once I figure out how to access my iPhone without the volume being turned up. So let's get into it. So, well, actually, let's get into it. But first of all, I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Pia Cato. As you can see, that is a professional photograph of me, not that image you just saw of me a minute ago. I'm a cake business mentor, and I'm based in Cheltenham in Gloucestershire in the UK. I am the owner of Make Money with Cakes and the Vanilla Pod Bakery. And I've been creating and selling cakes professionally since 2009. So you can contact me on all these contact details below. You can visit the website, makemoneyatcakes.com. You can visit, or you can email me, pia@makemoneywithcakes.com. You can tweet me at mmwchq, or you can message me on Facebook at Make Money with Cakes. So loads of ways to get in contact if you want a little bit of, or if you just want to email and say hi. We also have our private Facebook group, which I know quite a few of you are members. So on to the first slide. 3 reasons cake makers fail at pricing. Before I worked out how to price cakes for profit, I made all of these mistakes. So don't feel that you're doing something wrong. These are mistakes that majority of us go through. But you're going to have the edge because you're watching this webinar. So number 1, cake makers only think about the cost of ingredients. This one is so dominant in the cake world. People, when they start making cakes for a living, or if it's just a hobby, then no one really thinks about pricing. And you think, oh, actually the cost of ingredients are quite low cost, so I'll just add on, let's say, another 10% and it'll be fine. That's fine when you're first starting out, because you do need to test the market and you do need to see if people actually pay money to you. This is not a viable and sustainable way to make a living. Cake makers who only think about the cost of ingredients will fail in business. And I've seen a lot of people go down this route. I've made a note to ask everyone to say, if you do this, write in the chat box. I can't see the chat box, so I will figure out how to look at this later on. But yeah, so number 1 is cake makers only think about the cost of ingredients. So really, you've got to stop doing that now if that is what you're thinking. Number 2, cake makers benchmark other cake companies' prices. Now, this one, once you've figured out that you can't cost your cakes just on the ingredients, this is the next mistake that cake makers make. And believe me, I did it. So this is going back about 7 years ago, and when I started making celebration cakes, I had no idea what to charge. I never properly costed anything, and I literally just went on other cake makers' websites and thought, oh, they're charging £40 or they're charging 30, I'll charge 35. That is a huge mistake, because my overheads were completely different to the people I was benchmarking. What I wanted to earn, my wage, would have been completely different to the people I'm benchmarking. Benchmarking's good when you're using it just to see what your competition are charging. But whatever you do, please do not benchmark your cake's prices on other people's prices. I don't even think people should benchmark their prices on what I charge. You need it there as a guide to see what the market's doing, but your costs that go into making your cake will be so different to someone else down the road. And if you continue to benchmark other cake companies' prices, you'll most likely end up failing as well, because you're not taking into account your needs. Number 3, cake makers don't think customers will spend money on cakes. Now, if I had £1 for every single person who has said this to me, I'd be a very, very rich woman. The truth is, people do spend money on cakes. You've just got to find the right audience. So someone who's happy to pay £40 on a cake, that's fantastic. They're probably not likely to spend £150 on a cake. You never know, there are the exceptions, but most likely they're not going to. But people who spend £150 on a cake will happily spend that money, and they'll spend that money. So this is a mindset reason that cake makers fail. Anyway, as well, you're going to figure out if customers will spend money on your cakes is raising your prices and testing it. If customers don't buy, then you definitely know you haven't attracted the right market. If they do buy, fantastic, you're on to a winner. But just because you're raising your prices doesn't. Oh, let me start that again. So when you do attract the right market, they'll be happy with whatever your cakes are priced at. So if you're attracting a market who's used to spending £40, they'll only be wanting £40 cakes. Whereas if you attract a market who wants to spend £100, you're attracting that market, they'll be wanting to spend £100 on a cake, and their friends will. So your marketing will be focused on that group. If your marketing's focused on £40 cake customers, that's what you're going to get. So when you rapidly increase your prices, they're not going to buy. But people will spend money on cakes. So I hope that makes sense. It's all about this one here. It's a mindset thing. Cake makers don't think customers will spend money on cakes. And once you change or challenge that mindset, then it's a marketing task. So they're the 3 reasons that I feel are the top 3 reasons cake makers fail when it comes to pricing. I'm just going to go through them again. So you've got cake makers only think about the cost of ingredients, cake makers benchmark other cake companies' prices, and cake makers don't think customers will spend money on their cakes. All of these can be turned around so that you can have a viable and successful cake business. So, how can you win at the pricing game? And I call it a game because it makes it more fun. A lot of us, and me included, don't really like numbers. So if you call it a game, it's just a bit more, oh, this is, I don't mind doing numbers, because ultimately numbers are very crucial if you want a sustainable business, whatever type of business you run. So I just want to give you a brief little history on my part, so that you can get a feel for how I actually came up with something that can help you. So I've run my cake business for 8 years, and it took me quite a while to win at the pricing game, 7 years to be exact. Because when I first started my business back in 2009, I specialised in cupcakes. And at this point, I had pricing all figured out, and I had a really clear method, and I made sure I had profit, and I made sure I had everything was covered, all my overheads, and I gave myself a wage. But it was the introduction of other cakes that saw me spiral into the cake maker's nightmare of pricing. I basically grossly undercharged for every type of cake I made, bar cupcakes. and I would be up all hours creating them. And I'm sure a lot of you can completely identify with that. 2 a.m. and you're like, why am I making this cake for £40? And after years of being in this cycle, it eventually came crashing down, and it was a horrendous cycle to be in, because I was essentially working for nothing, and I had to factor in that I had to pay a lot of overheads, and I just didn't have any money. And I don't know how I actually survived during this time, because I didn't have any money to pay my staff. I had to take on staff because I had cake orders to fulfill, and we were getting a lot of cake orders, but we were in that annoying little gap where you can have a lot of cake orders and have them at low cost price, but you need to be churning out volume, or you make bespoke cakes, but you focus on churning out quality and higher priced items. But we were in the middle, and it just didn't work. So I didn't have money to pay my staff. I didn't have money to pay my bakery rent, so I was always in arrears. I didn't have money to pay my bills, so again, I was always having people chase me for money. Myself, I basically just didn't have enough money to do anything. And when I look back at this, I can't figure out how I survived. I have no idea how I got through. If any of you are feeling like this at the moment, it can get better, and it will get better with steps that I'm going to go through later on. So the reason why I never had money, that I'd never taken time to cost everything properly. I'd literally benchmarked other cake makers, and that was that. And it's just not viable. I had maybe a few attempts of costing when customers wanted a really bespoke cake, and it would take me hours. And I'm sure, again, a lot of you can relate to this. And I had a business mentor at this time, and I think she was a free mentor, this one. I got her through some charity organisation. I can't remember how she came along, but she said to me, Pia, you've got to find a method that makes quoting 10 times quicker, because you're wasting so much time quoting. And business, everything you do in your business is hours, and that's money. Time quoting, you're not spending time making, or you're not spending time marketing, then everything's going to implode. But for the life of me, when I was in this situation, I could never figure out why I didn't have any money. So again, I say this situation lasted for a long time. And again, I don't know how I did this, but I paid for a mentor. And I used to go to a monthly mentoring session with a group of people, and we'd sit down and we'd discuss our businesses, and it was fantastic. And one day I had a private meeting with my business coach, and he made me go through my numbers. I think about 4.5 or 4 years ago, something like that. He made me go through my numbers. He made me look at my break-even point. I'm going to ask this question: has anyone done their break-even point? So break-even is when your business starts making money after factoring costs and everything. I'd never done this since I did it at uni, but didn't really understand it. But my business coach made me sit down, go through everything and made me understand it for my cake business. The result was, if I carried on running my business the way I did, I would only ever break even every 14 or 15 months. I can't remember the exact number, but if my business started making profit, that just doesn't make sense, because there's only 12 months in the year. If your business starts making profit every 12 months, that's still not good. If your business starts making profit every 11 months, again, that's not great, because you've only got 2 months of the year where you're actually making profit for your business. Ideally, you want it to be between, well, ideally under 3 months, definitely under 6 months. So now my business breaks even after 2 months of the year, which is a great relief. Means my business is viable. So what did I do to change how my break even or change my business and make it profitable? Well, here's what is the answer. The answer is the 7-step pricing formula. So when I first formula, it definitely wasn't 7 steps, and it's taken me in the past 3 years to tweak. Well, I started doing it 4 years ago, but it's really 3 years ago that it's properly made money. And I've tweaked this, and I've come up with 7 steps, 7 key steps that I think every cake business must have to earn a profitable cake business, to turn over a profitable cake business. So when I saw my business coach, my mentor, my business was making minus thousands of pounds, and it was like minus £3,000 a year or something. So I never had to pay any tax or anything like that because my business just wasn't profitable. It went to 0, I think, after like 4 years ago. But 3 years, I credit it, within 3 years, it's taken me from nothing and minus and everything to now turning over £45,000. That means I'm turning over £45,000. It means my business is profitable. I'm doing this on a part-time basis, and it means I can take drawings of £25,000 a year, working 16 hours a week when I properly count it all out. It averages at 16 hours a week. So I think that's, that's quite good going. And for me, that's happened in such a short amount of time. So it can happen for you as well. So I wanted to share this 7-step pricing formula with you because I think no one really talks about pricing in the cake world. We talk about how hard it is, but I genuinely, apart from my clients, I genuinely don't know how much people are turning over in the cake world because it is such a taboo subject. And I don't know why everyone gets scared about it. Other industries are very transparent, but our industry is really difficult, and especially when you're a new cake maker coming on the scene, you actually want to work out how much you can physically earn, because then you can stop your other part-time job or stop your full-time job or whatever. You want to make sure you can support your family and your house and your life. We should be more transparent. So I'm taking that step, and it is actually scary. I do feel scared telling people what I earn because I don't know what other people earn. Some of you may think what I earn is a lot. Others may be like, oh, that's nothing. But for me, this is fine, and I'm very happy with this. I am ambitious, so I do want to increase it. But you can make a decent wage working 16 hours a week on cakes. So let's get into the pricing formula. So this is pretty much the formula. So I've put it like a maths formula. So you've got mindset, then you've got to plus labour, ingredients costs, sundry costs, and utility costs. And then you've got to times everything by profit, and that will give you the total cake price. So when I first came up with this formula, I never had mindset, and I didn't really have profit. But so the middle part was what started me on this journey. But as I've gone on, I've realized how important profit is and how important your mindset is as well. So let's start with step 1, mindset. This is something that I believe everyone should work on continually. And I'm always working on my mindset and my beliefs. Because if you are currently charging cakes, let's say at £25, that's your average cake price, when you will be surprised at how much a cake costs when you use this formula. But that's putting your values on what a cake should cost on someone else. So mindset is really, really key, because your customers don't have the same mindset as you. So for us, we may think our customers don't want to spend this, but we're not giving our customers a chance to say, well, actually, we do want to spend this because we value your time and creativity that's gone into making this amazing product. So mindset very, very key. And there's so many books out there about mindset, and you can go on YouTube and listen to loads of different things about mindset. And I'm always doing that. I've constantly got YouTube videos on while I'm making cakes about mindset. And I have to admit as well, I do listen to the law of attraction and things like that. And I know that's a bit woo-woo, but for me, it really helps. And it's just changed what I think and how I think. There's a lady called Denise Duffield Thomas, and she's a money mindset mentor. Her business is called luckybitch.com, and this has really helped me as well, because she's all about money. I've never enrolled in one of her courses yet. I want to. Again, it can be a little bit woo-woo, but there are so many top tips that you can take away in your perception of money and how much your product is worth and how much you are worth as well. So mindset, very, very, very important. The second step is labor. Now, this is obviously important, but you'd be surprised at how many people forget this step. They forget to pay themselves. And then when you realize, and you start costing out how much you're selling your cakes for, you realize you're making about 50p an hour. And that is vastly below the minimum wage. I think the national minimum wage in the UK now is £7.50. So you don't want to be earning anything less than that. So this labour step is very important. And you may find that in the beginning, you only want to charge the minimum wage for your labour. But as you grow in confidence, then you can up it. Most of my clients charge between £15 and £20 per hour. My mentoring clients that I help who have their cake businesses. But again, you can charge more than this. You could charge £50 an hour. It's up to you, because this is how much you want to take home, and this is your wage or your drawings. So yeah, very key to always add this in. Step 3 is the cost of ingredients. Now, I'm assuming most of you do actually add this in. So this one is not going to be as alien as maybe the mindset step and the labour step. So the cost of ingredients, everyone knows this is important. So most people have this covered. Next is the sundry costs. And this is where a lot of people don't have it covered. So I'm talking about cake boards, dowels, dummies, baking parchment, tinfoil, cling film, anything you use to create a cake. That has to go in the cost of the cake that you are producing. And cake boxes and all the cake boards, you know, everything, every single item has to be included. Next step, utility costs. So you've got to work out how much it costs per day or even per hour to create a cake. Look at your water bills, look at your gas bills, look at your electric bills, and work it out. This is important because you have to live, and when you've got the oven on, it costs money. Step 6 is profit. Now, as I said, when I first started creating this pricing formula, I forgot about profit. But profit is so vital. If you want your business to grow, then you've got to put profit in it. Profit will help your business grow, because you'll be able to spend money on marketing, you'll be able to spend money on educating yourself for these new skills, you'll be able to spend money on mentors, and you will be able to save money to maybe put money towards a bakery or a shop or new equipment. This comes out of the profit. Without this step 6, without profit, your business will not grow, because you're never putting anything back into the business. Your wage is not profit. 2 separate things. And step 7 is the total cake price. So I'm just going to give you an example. So let's say this lady is making a 9-inch round cake. Her labour, she wants to charge her hourly rate at £15 an hour. She knows the cake's going to take her about 5 hours to make. That comes to £75. She works out her ingredients costs, and obviously it's going to be quite an expensive cake because her ingredients are £37. So she's probably using a lot of fondant or bits and pieces to bring it up to that price. That is quite high. Her sundry costs £6 and her utility costs are £4. Then she wants to put a 30% profit margin on her cake. So the formula is £75 plus £37 plus £6 plus £4. Then you times that by 30%. So this 9-inch round cake is £158.60. Now, if that sounds scary, please say yes. I really want to see what you're saying, so I might have to just switch on to onto my YouTube app. But when I first started costing my cakes up like this, I had the mindset of, oh my gosh, no one is going to spend that much money on a cake. But people do. People do. And it's just about marketing at this point. After you've got the formula, it's about marketing to the right audience. As a cake maker, unless you've got some massive industrial unit, most of us are small business owners. A lot of us work from home. We're not after thousands of customers. We are probably after 100, well, I mean, 100 customers a year is pretty good going. So, you know, 50, if you're making celebration cakes, 50 customers, 50 to 150 customers a year per cake maker. That's not a lot of customers. Really, you know, we're after like between 4 and 10 customers a month. So we're not after the earth. So would you rather spend your money marketing to people who want to spend £50 on a cake, or marketing to people who want to spend £158 on a cake? If you had 4 people who spent £50 on a cake, you'd be turning over £200. If you had 4 people who spent £58 on a cake, you'd be turning over £632. I know I prefer the higher end. So it's important to really think about your mindset, because again, so mindset not only with the numbers, but also, are you worth that? Do you have the skills to make cakes for that money? It's you have to think about it, and it's one step at a time. So let's just go into some tips and tools to help you. So I love spreadsheets, and anyone who's ever been mentored by me will know that I love spreadsheets, and I have them literally coming out of my ears. So I really recommend you create a spreadsheet, and I'm just going to go through the basics of how to create one. So you basically need, at the minimum, you need these 5 tabs. So you need, with spreadsheets as well, I like to use Google Sheets. Now you can use Excel. And of course you can do this with pen and paper. Doing it on the computer just makes life easier, because you can work out formulas and then things just get done automatically. But this is basically what you need, whether you've got pen and paper or you're doing it online, or on the computer, I should say. So you need the total cost of your cake. So this is a spreadsheet, and you can add different tabs, okay? You don't need 5 separate spreadsheets. You have one spreadsheet, one document, and you can create 5 separate tabs in that document. So the total price of cakes, then you need the labor costs and time, you need ingredients costs, sundry costs, and utility costs. Once you've got to grips with this, then you can add, maybe you do naked cakes, so you can add a different tab for that. Cupcakes, add a different tab for that. Drip cakes, different tab for that. Buttercream cakes, different tab for that. But let's start with the basics. So as you can see, this is a very, well, I screenshot this. This is the spreadsheet that I use, and it may look a little bit confusing. I'm going to get this little marker thing. So up here, I've got, this is iced cake, and I've got information there, and then I've got, this is the profit margin, and then I've got what the cake is. So my iced cakes, all of them, are 3 layers of sponge with 2 layers of filling, dressed, I can't read this, but dressed on a white cake board. Basically everything I include, so that if anyone needs to price a cake, they can see exactly what I'm doing. So down on this left-hand column, I've got the size of the cake, I've got the number of portions it feeds. Then I've broken it down into labour costs, ingredient costs, utility costs, sundry costs, additional decoration, and profit. The reason I'm breaking it down is just for me. I'm dyslexic and I love to see things spelt out. So you don't have to have this. You can have it whatever way you want. But for me, I like to see things really clearly. And I probably go into too much detail, but that's just me. So I've got then 4-inch round, 5-inch round, 6-inch round, 7-inch round, 8-inch round, 9-inch round, 10-inch round, and 12-inch round. These are all the cakes that I make, purely because these are the tins I have. I don't have an 11-inch cake tin, and I've never had one, so I've never made them. So then basically everything from the other spreadsheets are formulated onto this spreadsheet. And at the moment, there's nothing in here because I completely made it a blank template. But all these costs would calculate and you'd get your price there. So the additional decoration is what I charge for anything that's more elaborate than a simple iced cake. So my simple iced cakes, as I say, are 3 layers of sponge, 2 layers of filling, ganache undercoat, and then fondant iced. So if they want, say, a sugar rose, then I put in what I charge. Normally I say it's my hourly rate plus ingredients costs. So I put in a blanket £35 basically. If they want me to buy in stuff, then I put it in here as well. But yeah, so, and then everything's timed with the profit, and that's what's given you. And also under here, I've got how long it takes, like time-wise, and what the prices cost per portion. It's really important to have the time as well, so that when you are taking on orders, you can say, well, this cake's going to take me 5 hours, that one's going to take me 10 hours, do I have space? Just helps with diarising and keeping your business running smoothly. So this is single tiered cakes, and then this is the iced stacked cakes. So this has every combination of cake that I do. So I've got, I think that's a 6 and or a 4 and a 6, 6 and an 8, 6 and a 9. I need to put 5 and a 7 because I do that one quite a bit as well. But every combination you can think of, add them, and you can always add more when you go on. These are the most popular, so I've just stuck with that, and I have added them as I've gone on, because I think I used to stop it here and then someone's asked for a cake to feed X amount of people, so I'm like, oh, I've got to work it out. But once you have it, it's there. So this is like the header page. So if someone says, I want a 6-inch round cake, I literally log onto this and go, okay, a 6-inch round cake is going to cost that. I want a 6-inch round cake with 2 hours decoration. Okay, a 6-inch round cake with 2 hours decoration. Let me add the additional costs. So it's £35 times 2. It will all calculate, it will add the profit, it will do everything, and that will come up at X amount. So I hope that makes sense. The next sheet is the ingredients list. So this is pretty straightforward. You've got the cost of the product in this column. You've got the cost of it per gram or per, basically you want to find how much it is for one. So then you times it for whatever your size cakes. So my cake method is pretty simple because I use a very similar method for everything. And I use my sponges are all based on the weight of the eggs, which makes doubling it up or making it smaller so much easier. When it comes to chocolate cakes, I literally just add in a flat rate of I add in like £25 to cover the cost of the chocolate. But I've got cake ingredients, and I've got buttercream ingredients, and I've got ganache ingredients. Then I've got other things, so like jams and bits and pieces like that. So mine is obviously all filled out. And then I calculate all of that, and it gives me the cost of what every single cake size takes. Next tab is the labour tab, and we'll go into a bit more detail with this in a minute. It looks very complicated. It looks way more complicated than it actually is. But essentially, I've got all the tasks I perform here. I've got the start time and the end time, and then how long it takes. And then for each, obviously for each cake size. And then once you've calculated the time, then you add your hourly rate here. And then this formula adds the hourly rate to all the different cake sizes, and it will times the hourly rate and the time it takes to make. And that is your labour costs. So you can see it. And obviously, as you improve, you can change this. So you might get quicker, but as you change it, make sure you add on more profit, because obviously you'll be losing money. And you don't want to lose money. You just want to either your prices want to stay the same, or they want to increase. The tab after this is the sundry costs. So again, you just want to price out absolutely everything for every single cake size that you do. And here I've got things like dowels and cake boards and cling film and tinfoil, etc. Then I've got cake box prices, and then I've got cake dummy prices. Again, mine are all filled out for everything. And then you've got utility costs, and I've got gas, electric and water. So I've worked out how much I pay every year, then I've divided it by every month. You don't have to do it like this. Again, I just do it because I like to see everything in black and white. So it's per year, per month, per week. Then I've put per day, then I've put per hour. Most of my cakes take 3 days to make, so I've simply just times the day rate by 3. And that's what I charge for every single cake. So some of them I make a bit of money, because sometimes it might take me 1 day. But on average, it's about 3 days. So, as I said, we'd go into the labour timesheet, and this is something that you can implement straight away, and that you can either write out in hand, or you can go get fancy and go on a spreadsheet. So, this is what I get all my clients to do before we even tackle the pricing formula. Weighing, mixing, it's all the tasks that you do to create every single type of cake that you make. And it's going to be pretty similar, but you've just got to keep track on this, okay? So weighing, mixing, and lining tins. You put your start time, and then you put your end time, and then you put your total time. Baking the cakes, start time, end time, totaling time. I don't add cooling cakes because I only add tasks where I have to physically be by the oven. Yes, you could argue that baking cakes, I can go off and do something else, but I still physically have to be here. So I put that on as a task. Cutting, leveling, and filling cakes, another task. You could also add, and I have this in mine, making the fillings as well. So I've added that into this time, or you can have a separate column. Ganaching the cakes or buttercreaming the cakes, that takes time. So start time, end time, total time. Then covering the cake with fondant, covering the cake board with fondant or sugar-based icing. Putting the ribbon on the cake board, putting the ribbon around each tier. Every single thing you do to create a cake needs to be listed down here. And this list, can go on for quite a bit. But everything needs to be covered. Also, make sure you add a contingency time. And also add things like shopping and admin, because it all takes time, and that's how you create a cake. So if you take anything away from this to help you get started now, take this labour timesheet out and start working on that straight away. The next cake you do, start timing everything. And once you have this in place, then you can really start filling in the certain elements from the 7-step formula. also work on your mindset as well. But this labor element is really key, because yes, you've got the ingredients, you've got the profit margin you want to do, you've got the sundry items, you've got the ingredients. But if you don't know how long things take, and when I first started doing this, I grossly underestimated how long things took. So even though I started adding labor on, I still wasn't making money, because a cake that I thought would take 2 hours took me 6 hours. So once you've got a cake, once you're pricing your cakes correctly, it's such a freeing feeling, because you're like, okay, I'm going to be turning over 100, let's say 140 pounds for this cake, and it's going to take me 4 hours. That's great. I'm making money on it. Whereas versus, okay, this cake is going to be turning over 40 pounds. I've got 4 hours. I'm not making anything. I feel stressed, and I'm like, why am I doing this? So it's a very, very freeing feeling when you are earning money. So one more thing before I ask questions. There's a website that I've just come across called bakingit.com. Or I say I've just come across it. This is the website. So I used to use this website all the time when it was a free platform. And I used to just double check my how much fondant I needed, or how much, what size cake served how many portions. But now they've made it a paid product, and I have signed up for it. I'm using it as a paid subscriber now, and it's still really good. So I use it for creating drawings, because you can create 3D cakes, so you can give them to your client. But also, this has got so much more business stuff on it now as well. So it's got cake calculators, it's got designs. You can use it for invoicing. You can use it for just keeping a health check on your business. But if you wanted to use it for costing your cakes and everything like that, it does that. So instead of putting everything on a spreadsheet, like I've just recommended, which is free, you can sign up to this and then enter all your details onto this. But you still need to have done the labour timesheet, and you still would have needed to do all of the elements that I've just spoken about, so that you can put it onto your cake calculator and easily work it out. But yeah, I really like this software, and I use it for my own business. I don't use everything. I don't use the invoicing section, because I've got my own invoicing package. I use Xero, but I use it for, as I say, for drawing and for working out portion sizes, because obviously some people want to stray away from my average, from the norm. But I really hope this has been beneficial, and I'd love to take your questions. So I'm just going to flip back so you'll be able to see me, and I'm going to find the chat box and see if anyone's asked for any questions. So I've just got to work out how to do this. So bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, so I've got to cancel this. Right. Okay. So you should be able to see my face in a minute. Or not. No? Something's happened. Hello, here I am. Right, so let me just see if I can go on to the chat box. That's when you want it to work quickly. Now the computer's frozen. Okay. Okay, right. Oh, good. Hi. I can see some questions, or I can see some comments. So yeah, the £158 does seem really scary, and it's such a mindset thing. And to be honest, I still struggle with selling my cakes for that much money. It's still a mindset that challenges me. But I sent a quote over to a customer the other day, and they've just bought an 8-inch round cake from me for £179. So there are customers out there, and I do feel scary saying that you're buying this cake for £179, but at the same time, this cake's going to take me, well, it will take me about 5 hours now. So it's got a profit on it, and my profit margin is 44%. So yeah, it gets easier, but it's still something that you have to work on all the time. So your customers will your customers will spend them. You just need to find those customers. And when you are selling cakes for over £100, it's a completely different market to people buying cakes for under £100. So Linda says, I have a lot of repeat customers. How can I increase prices substantially on them? So with the repeat customers, it is difficult at first, and I had to take a really firm stance, and literally I had to change my prices from when I figured out how much I needed to charge. So I would suggest saying to your customers, thank you for your custom. This time, please be aware my prices are increasing. I will give you a discount as you have been such a loyal customer. The next time I will have to charge you the full amount. So whatever, if they're ordering, let's say this 9-inch cake for £158, if they've been used to spending £40 on the cake, there's no way they are going to pay £158. But you could maybe increase it by, say you're using £60. Say that you sell it to them for £60, and then next time you sell it to them for £80, and basically keep going from then. The example I used as well has got quite a big profit margin, so 30%. If you feel that you can go for 30% straight away, go for it. But I understand that's quite a massive jump to go from no profit to 30%. So what I did for me, and what I recommend for my clients, is you start with maybe 5% profit margin, and then you increase to 10% or 12%, 15%. Do it slowly but surely. You could do it every 6 months, or you could do it every year. So for me, I increase my prices every year, and I increase them by a percentage that I think works in line with what my customers will pay and what I'm happy with. So this year I increased my prices by 10%, and I felt scary. I felt scared rather, but I went ahead with it, and now I'm like, yeah, that's my prices. And when I look back at what I was charging last year, I was like, oh my gosh, my cakes were so cheap. So I've got a goal that I want my average wedding cake to be around £600. My average wedding cake at the moment is just under £500. But this year for me has been the first year where I've actively quoted for cakes over £1,000, and I've actively got them, which was like, wow, oh my gosh, people are spending £1,000 on a cake for their wedding. But they do, and they believe that I can create a cake that's worth £1,000. So when you suddenly jump from that, I mean, this has been only 3 years this has happened. There's other people who are going to be wanting to spend that money as well. And yeah, one of the things that we all are guilty of is saying customers won't spend money on cakes, but they do. Believe me, they do. And as I say, we're not looking for thousands of customers. We're looking for 50 to 100, maybe even less, maybe even more, but we're not really looking for anything over 250 at this stage. So yeah, it is an eye-opener, and I think it's important that we share and we discuss these things so that we can all create sustainable businesses and really, really enjoy what we're doing, not feel stressed out and everything. Because believe me, once you've got your pricing sorted, just feel so much more relaxed, and you can take it easy, and you're not like, oh my gosh, I need 5 cake orders, because you can have 1 cake order, which will bring you the same turnover or probably even more income than what we may have been charging previously. So does anyone have any more customers, or just want to, does anyone have any more questions, or do you want to just share some comments or everything? Because I know that a lot of people couldn't actually make the live session, but this will be going out to people on the mailing list as well, and I'll put it in the private Facebook group at the end of the week. But do you think you'll be able to increase your prices? I hope you do. I hope you do. Linda said, yes, I've been so busy making loads of cakes, I haven't had the time to develop design ideas. Yeah, and once you've got your pricing at a comfortable rate, because I mean, I didn't, when I started my pricing, I wasn't charging £150 for an 8-inch cake 3 years ago, but I did I did increase it dramatically. So I think I was charging around £50 for an 8-inch cake, and I moved it to £99, I think. And then every year I added another £10 onto it, pretty much. Probably, no, I added more, because I'm charging. My average 8-inch round cake that's iced starts at 158, I think, or 148. I can't really remember, because it's on my pricing spreadsheet, and if I don't have to remember numbers, great, but I've got a tool there that I can just bring up. But yeah, so once you are charging more for your cakes, then you do have the time to develop ideas, and you do have the time to work on your business so that it can become really sustainable and really enjoyable. And then with that money that you're making, you can spend it on your loved ones or yourself. It's just not that constant worry. But it takes time, but not too much time, because as I say, I've done it in 3 years. So anyone else? Daniel said it's been a real eye-opener. And Lisa's saying, using the formula I've worked out, that she's undercharging. But don't feel guilty that you're undercharging, or don't feel bad. It's just one of these things that we don't tend to think about until we're at the end of our tether. And we're like, I've had enough, I can't cope with this anymore. Okay. But if that's all the questions, then I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to wish you a lovely evening, and I hope you've enjoyed this little masterclass. These masterclasses is actually quite scary, and I must say thank you as well for joining me on this class today, because obviously it was meant to be last week, but I was on holiday, and I'm not very good at switching off. But unfortunately, the internet was not working when I was on holiday, so I had to force myself to switch off. So thank you very much for joining today, and I really hope that you find this formula beneficial, and I really hope your cake businesses grow and you earn what you're worth. So yeah, good luck to everyone, and please email me if you have any questions, or I'm going to go into the Facebook group, because I haven't been in there for a while. I'm just going to hang around in there. So if you want any questions, if you have any questions you want answering, just fire them in there and I'll give my opinion. So yeah, have a lovely evening, and I will see you all soon. Okay, bye.